Hey folks, thanks for joining our live webinar. My name is Lucas DeMarchi. I'm with Full Gauge Controls USA, and we are live from Miami, Florida. This webinar is brought to you by Full Gauge Controls in partnership with Robert Shaw. Robert Shaw is the full gauge distributor for the USA market. So you can find our full gauge controllers as well as Robert Shaw products in most wholesalers across the country. Today is actually our fifth live webinar. This is a series of live broadcasts we've been doing during these social distancing times. We first talked about installation and configuration guidelines for a refrigeration medium temp controller. Then we talked about installation and configuration guideline for a freezer controller. On our third webinar, we talked about different defrost options and defrost methods. The fourth webinar, we talked about remote monitoring and control and the advantage of implementing remote monitoring and control. And today, we're going to be talking about how to select the right refrigeration controller. Well, before we get started, I would like to ask you to leave a like on our video here and subscribe to our YouTube and Facebook page. There you will be having all the latest news and events brought to you by Full Gauge Controls. So please leave a like on this video and subscribe to our page to stay up to date with all our product release, new support initiatives, exhibitions, trade fairs that we attend, and more. So, and once again, thank you very much for joining. This is our fifth live webinar, and we're going to be talking on how to select the right refrigeration controller. In the meantime, if you have any question, you can leave your questions in here. We have a mediator that will doing his best to reply all your questions, and I will also be trying to bring some of those questions live to the screen for debate, so everyone can see the question, debate about, and we can hopefully be able to answer those questions. So today, again, we're going to be talking about how to select the right refrigeration controller. I've been with Full Gauge for just over 10 years, and that's one question that I get asked a lot. How do you select? You guys have a huge product line. How do you select the right refrigeration controller? What do you look first into in order to make your selection? There are a couple of simple things, and that's what we're going to be looking at today. A couple of simple questions that you have to ask, and these couple of simple questions will actually guide your product selection. So let's see that. Another thing that I would like to share with you that during this live, we're going to have a little quiz. So we're going to be asking a question, and whoever answers first will get a prize. And we brought to you as a prize or Penta 3. So we have a portable thermometer with 5 temperature sensors that if you stay tuned throughout this live, we're going to be asking a question, and the first to have the right reply to the question will win a brand new Penta 3 portable thermometer. So stay tuned to our live, and hopefully this Penta 3 will be yours. So, okay. How do you select the right refrigeration controller? Firstly, we have to look at what the refrigeration controller does and how it is conceived. So basically, controllers, all controllers, they work based on inputs and outputs. what are the inputs in terms of control? When we mention inputs are variables that the controller will consider in order to switch loads on and off. So the inputs will be either the sensors, for example, temperature sensors, pressure transducers, humidity sensors. Those are considered to be input. Those will be collecting information and inputting those information inside of the controller so that the outputs can make an action, can bring to action. So basically, and that's the very two questions you have to answer yourself and your customers when you're looking at digital controllers. This is something that is useful not only for refrigeration contractors, but for distributors. So whenever you're working with a customer of yours that needs a specific controller, and you need to find out among different options what would be the best fit for that specific application, the questions you're gonna ask are, how many inputs do you need? How many sensors do you need? And how many outputs do you need? So those two questions will actually guide your product selection. How many sensors and inputs do you need, and how many outputs do you need? And now we're gonna look at what are those. So for instance, I brought in here a wiring diagram, which we have inputs from terminal 1 to 6. And those terminal 1 to 6 are the inputs of the controller. From terminal 7 to 14, we have the power supply, and from terminal 10 to 14 we have the outputs of the controller. What are the outputs? Outputs are just like a switch, a relay switching device, a switching device. So basically you connect a load, you connect something to that output, to that switching device, and that will switch on and off. But how will that switch on and off? Based on what? So the switching device will be commanded through the inputs, which can be temperature, pressure, humidity, and more. So looking at this, for example, here we have two temperature sensors. So we have two inputs for temperature. Two different temperatures will be providing different commands to the controller. And on the output side, we have 4 outputs of control, which will allow us to connect compressor, fan, defrost, and lights. So those two simple questions will actually guide your selection for existing OEM controllers. So if you're currently working on a specific OEM equipment and you cannot find the exact OEM replacement, you can always go to the counter and get one full gauge controller that will do pretty much the same. And that's the beauty of implementing those digital controllers. The versatility you have, the ability of using one controller across different applications is one of the greatest benefits of the digital control technology. So again, let's see where the controller sits. So let's revisit where the controller sits on the refrigeration system, and then we can have a better understanding. So I'd like to share with you the basic refrigeration system. And again, if you have any questions, please send out all your questions, and we're gonna do our best to answer. So getting back to the basic refrigeration system, on the basic refrigeration system, we have the compressor. There are 4 main elements on the basic refrigeration system, which are your compressor, which will compress the refrigerant and send out through the discharge line in high pressure, high temperature. And then it will go through the first heat exchange process. So it will go through the condenser, which will change the status from vapor to liquid. And then it goes through the third major element on the basic refrigeration cycle, which is the expansion device, which will expand, change the status again. and go through the evaporator that will change that. That's the second heat exchange element. So you have four main components on the basic refrigeration cycle. You have the compressor, you have the condenser, you have the expansion device, and you have the evaporator. So where refrigeration controllers will normally be sitting at? So refrigeration controllers will normally be used to control compressor, evaporator fan, and the defrost element. You might have applications which require more things to be controlled. You might have applications that requires the cabinet lights to be controlled. You might have an application which requires an external alarm to be controlled, and other possibilities. But and that's the things you have to find out in order to select the most appropriate refrigeration controller. So again, what are you going to be looking at? How many sensors do I need? Why do you need to know that? You need to know because you might need only one sensor just for room temperature. That will be calling normally on medium temp applications, or most of the medium temp applications, you only need one sensor, only the room sensor, the refrigerated space sensor that will be calling for compressor on and off. However, on freezer application, in some freezer applications, you might need the second sensor to be controlling your defrost termination cycle. So by knowing how many sensors you need, you will start your selection on the refrigeration controller. Now, the next question you gotta ask yourself and you're gonna ask your customer is, what do you need to control? Do you need to control compressor only, or do you need to control compressor and evaporator fan? Do you need to control compressor, evaporator fan, and defrost? What's there to control? So once you know that, you can now make your product selection. And here I'm gonna show you the different features we have for the product selection. So I'm sure most of you have been to our fullgauge.com website. And one thing that I would like to share with you is that we now have a US-based website. It's fullgauge.us. That website has been designed for the US market and is loaded with dedicated support infrastructure that I'm going to be taking you on a quick tour. So, but first of all, once we know those questions, we know how many sensors we need, and we know how many outputs we need, how many things we need to control. Now we can come and select what's the right refrigeration controller to my application. So here on fullgauge.us, it's the same with the fullgauge.com, but we're going to be looking at this one today. Right at the home page, we have this product finder tool where you can search by the product part number, the product name, or you can search by features. And that's something that will make your product selection much easier, because now you know how many sensors you need first. You know if you need one sensor or if you need two sensors. And once you know that, you just need to know what do you need to control. Is it compressor, fan, and defrost? Is it only compressor? Is it only compressor and defrost? My fan, I don't need to control the evap fan independently. Once you know those things, now your product selection will be much easier. So under the feature selection in here, you have different options. For example, let's say we need a controller with two sensors. So in here on the application feature, you're gonna have controllers with serial communication that will provide you the ability of connecting with a computer or cell phone. You have differential temperature controls, and you have refrigeration controllers with one sensor, and refrigeration controllers with two sensors. So let's say we click on refrigeration controllers with two sensors. And here we're gonna have every option that includes every option that has been designed for refrigeration application and features at least 2 sensors option. So you see that now we've got those 4 models. Now it's pretty much easy to make our selection. The TC900 Power and E2HP, it's pretty much the same. The difference is that the TC900 E2HP has a more powerful relay output for compressor, which allows you to control compressors up to 2 horsepower directly through the controller terminal. Up to 2 horsepower, you won't need any contactor or any external switching device. And the TC900 E-Log is the one that features the C-Trod communication for remote monitoring and control. So very simple, very straightforward. Now I'm going to show you a different way of selecting your refrigeration controller. So we just looked at the features. Now we can also look at by application. So for example, you come here by application and you can select your air conditioning application or your walk-in cooler and freezer, which is also known as a cold rooms and counters. So under these categories, you're gonna have access to the refrigeration options. So for instance, let's say we select the walk-in coolers and counters with natural defrost, with off-cycle defrost. That's the application we need. We only need off-cycle defrost. So here are all the options that will include such capability. So we're gonna have the 512, 514, and different options for a walk-in and a reach-in cooler, counter display coolers, under counter coolers, any type of cooler equipment with natural defrost. So here is how you make your product selection. So you might want to ask that some applications might have specific control features. For example, some applications, especially on supermarket display case, some application requires real-time clock defrost. How do I select those very specific features that some applications might need? So I would like to take you through our support infrastructure on our website, on our US website. So again, on fullgauge.eus, we go now under the support section. So the support section will actually provide you a couple of, continue through the contractor support section. The contractor support section is the one that include contractor and application-oriented materials. So you're gonna find product manuals, how-to guides on, for example, how to set up specific features of the controllers. I think we are having some internet connection in here. So guys, looks like we are back. If you're unable to hear me or if the connection is breaking up on your side, let me know in here on your comments. Then I can change, I can possibly change my network in here. But I think we have just reestablished connection. So Here we have Felipe saying that the screen is blurry. Yeah, I guess that's the connection we're getting. See if you can see the screen now. Looks like not. So let me refresh this page in here and let me know if you guys are able to see now. Yeah, I know there is so much traffic on the internet those days. I mean, experienced unprecedented amount of traffic, and different platforms are having trouble, such as YouTube and Facebook. And unfortunately, that's what we're experiencing today. Still blurry. Well, guys, what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna join a different network. So hang on tight. Hang on tight. I'll be right back. I'm just gonna join a different network in here. And in case I get dropped off, I'll be right back on. So please sit tight, and I'll be right back. Let me change my network, and hopefully this will solve our problems. Hey guys, I'm back. Yeah, thanks for being here. We still have a lot of people live, and thanks for hanging on for that. So let me know if you guys can see a little bit better now, or is it? It seems to be still blurry. Yeah. Let me do one thing in here. Well, it looks like it's still blurry. It's hard to say why. Are you guys able to see the screen or no? It's Bob Lopez is saying it's still blurry. So yeah, I guess our screen sharing feature might have to be disabled. But let me try once again. Wow, it's still blurry. So I'm gonna leave. Just gonna leave a small screen in here. Not good. I mean, Altacio is mentioning it's not good. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I mean, we're trying to fix here on our side, but looks like our internet is trying. I'm actually having a good screen feedback on my side. But anyway, so one thing that I was going to point out for you guys, but I can talk now, and you guys can surf through. You can go on fullgauge.us, and on the support section, you're going to have two options to navigate. You're going to have one option, which is the contractor support section. There you will find product manuals, how to installation sheets, cross-reference guides. So you have a full cross-reference guide if you want to replace any existing control with your full gauge control. And that's one thing, actually. I keep mentioning that, but not a lot of people know that existing OEM controllers can be replaced by a full gauge control. And under the support section, we have on the contractor support section, cross-reference, we have a feature selection guide, which clarifies different specific features and what controllers include such respective features. So for example, we were talking about, we had an application that needed 2 sensors. First, room temperature and coil, evaporator coil, to control defrost. And we needed 3 relay outputs to control compressor, fan, and defrost. However, the customer needed real-time clock defrost control. How do you know which controller has the real-time clock defrost feature? You can either go on fullgauge.us and on the product, under the product list applications, you can search by application, or you can search by product feature. And there you can select your real-time clock. And then you're gonna see every controller which provides such real-time clock defrost capability. Or you can go through the feature selection guide, which is available to you at the contractor section on our fullgauge.us website. So this is what I wanted to bring to you guys today. How do you select the right refrigeration controllers? What do you need to ask yourself first that will guide your product selection? So we saw today, we need to know what are the things that are mandatory to know in order to select your controller are. How many sensors do I need, and how many outputs do I need to control? By having those information, we can replace any existing digital control out there. And there are no limitation. I mean, you might find one controller that has specific features, but doesn't mean we can't accomplish the same or accomplish a little bit different using different features. So do not get attached to specific control features. Do not get attached. Let's say you have an OEM equipment which has a specific control feature, has a specific fan control logic or a specific defrost logic. Do not get attached to those specifics, because we have controllers, our controllers provide you options that can deliver pretty much the same efficiency as any existing OEM control. So now we are open to questions. And one thing that I mentioned before, that we would be providing a prize for whoever answers the questions. So here are the questions. I have an application, a refrigeration application that I need, and the question will be, you guys are gonna have to select the product. Who first send out the product on the comment, who first send out the comment with the right product will win a Penta 3, a portable thermometer with 5 temperature sensors. So suppose we have an application, a refrigeration application, and we need to control on the condenser side. We have a condenser, a multi-stage condenser with 4 condenser fans. And we want to control those 4 condenser fans based on discharge pressure. So I want to monitor discharge pressure and control 4 condenser fans. What's the best controller for such application? Leave it on the comment in here, and whoever replies to that first will win a Penta 3 portable thermometer. And in the meantime, you can send out all your questions. So, or you can also tell me, how do you, before this training, before this video, how do you guys use to select the right refrigeration controller for your jobs? What are the criteria you use to select the right refrigeration controllers? I just shared that the criteria we've been using are how many sensors and how many outputs of control do you need. And based on those two informations, you can make your product selection. What do you use out there? And again, reminding you that these can replace, these full gauge controllers can replace any existing OEM control. So hey, looks like we have a winner in here. Ali, PCT 410E. That's right. Hey, congratulations, Ali. You have the right answer. And the PCT 41E is the one I would select for controlling, for measuring pressure, discharge pressure, and controlling for condenser fans. And why is that? Because remember, Ali Maki. Ali, please, I'm going to ask you to send an email here to support at Full Gauge with your shipping information, and we're going to be sending you your brand new Penta 3. So just email your contact information and address to support at fullgauge.com, and we're going to be organizing this right away. So, and now let's bring, hey, here we have a question. How to choose your controller, number of sensor and number of outputs. Yes, that's exactly, you got it right, Felipe. Based on those two informations, you're gonna have, that's the starting point for your product selection. Next thing you're gonna look at, is there any specific feature that you need? Any, such as any fan cycling control feature, any different defrost method that you need. So if there are specific features, we can then look at different alternatives. But once the controller matches the number of sensors, number of outputs, you're gonna always make it work. So even if you're not controlling the way you're trying at the first time, you can still accomplish the same setup with a different way of doing it. So that's about it. And I just wanted to remind, just to revisit why the right answer was PCT 410E. And I'm just gonna remind you the question. The question was, what do I use to control pressure? I wanna control 4 condenser fans based on discharge pressure. And the right answer was PCT 410E, because we needed discharge pressure. So I only mentioned about one input, only one point of measurement. That was the discharge pressure. And then we needed to control 4 condensing fans. There are 4 outputs needed for that. So one pressure input that will monitor the pressure, and based on the cut in, cut out, will activate the 4 different condenser fans. Those will be connected to the controller outputs. And the answer is PCT 410E. Well, is there any other question, guys? Anything else that you guys would like to share or hear today? I'm gonna bring some of those. All right, so that's what we had for today. Next week, we're gonna have on next Wednesday, we're gonna have our live or last live weekly webinar. This is gonna be our 6th webinar in a row. Every week we've been bringing a live content, a different content to you. Next week will be the last weekly event. However, we're gonna try to keep one live webinar per month. So at least one live webinar every month we're gonna have for you. Send out what are the different subjects you would like to see on those live webinars. Please send out your recommendations, your suggestions. What would you like to see? What would you like to learn? And we're gonna bring those to live. Here we have one question from Ed Carriel. Ed, first, thank you very much for joining our live event today. And is it possible to connect multiple PCT410E to control more fans? Yes. Actually, the PCT410E, that's a very interesting question. Thanks for bringing that up. The PCT410E provides two RS-485 communication ports. One of the RS-485 is used to communicate with the CTRAD software for remote monitoring and control. The other RS-485 communication port is used to connect another PCT410. So you can connect PCT410 in series to control more condenser fans, or let's say you want to control suction and discharge. So you need one sensor on the suction line and another sensor on the discharge line. That's how and why you would use the second RS-485. So the answer is yes, you can connect multiple PCT410s and you're gonna connect your multiple PCT410s on the RS-485 communication port. Very interesting, very informative question. Thank you, Ed, and thanks for being here with us. And I hope you can be one of our guests for some of the next live events. Thanks, Amin. Thanks for joining our webinar. Any other question, folks? Anything else you guys need to know or anything? Here we have another question. Is it possible to receive alarms of high and low pressure remotely in my phone? Yes, that's actually one of the salient features of CTRAD software. Last week, we had a live about CTRAD software, about how to implement remote monitoring free of charge. So if you're looking for how to implement remote monitoring free of charge, I recommend you to go on our YouTube channel and you're gonna find a live that was brought to you last week with this content. So go online, Full Gauge YouTube channel, and search for the live that how to implement remote monitoring free of charge. That will explain CTRAD software. But the answer is it possible to receive alarms and high and low pressure remotely in my phone? Yes. You will get those notifications via your CTRAD software. CTRAD software is a solution. It's a software solution provided by Full Gauge Controls free of charge. So CTRAD software allows you to connect your refrigeration controllers for temperature, pressure, humidity, your air conditioning, your heating equipment, all in the same software. And you can set up, and the software will provide two-way communication from your controllers and computer and cell phone. That means you can go online and change the system settings. You can force a defrost. You can do pretty much everything you would do locally. You can do remotely from your cell phone or computer. And you can also see historical data in a chart or a text format. And if anything goes wrong, the software will be sending out alarm messages to the computer via email address to computer and cell phones. So you can get your high, low pressure alarms. Depending on what controller you're going to be using, you can get your room temp alarm, your if you have, for instance, a door switch connected to the digital input of one of the controllers, you can now get open door alarm. You can get different types of notifications. So that's something that's possible and available. Here we have another question from Felipe. There is also RCK602 for more fans. Yeah, that's right, Felipe, and thanks for bringing that up. The RCK, in fact, the RCK, it's our newer rack controller. It's a multi-stage pressure-based control designed for racking system. The RCK includes some of very exclusive and innovative energy-saving algorithms. So that's a product. That's a product we would have enough content for a full live webinar. We could have one live webinar just to talk about that line of rack controllers. So if you think that this is something you would be interested to see, a live webinar about rack controller, about the different rack controller options and what you can do with each specific controller, send out as a comment in here, and that's something we can put on our webinar schedule. Or any other subject, any other topic you would like to be discussed or you'd like to be presented on those live webinars. Well, guys, thank you very much for joining our 5th live webinar again. We appreciate you being here very much. For those of you who don't follow us on Facebook or on Instagram, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have LinkedIn, YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our page and follow our page so you can see the latest content. And another thing I wanted to invite you is to download our FG Finder app. FG Finder app, in fact, I have it in here with me. The FG Finder app, it's offered free of charge. So, and it's available for both iPhone and Android phone. And on the FG Finder app, you get all your product manuals. So you have list of product manuals, and you also have the application selection, and you can select your controllers by category as well. So this is a free to download app that you can go now on your app store and download for free. And you will also have access to videos, different installation videos. We have where to buy electronic expansion valve selection. This is a subject that we're going to do a live webinar about electronic expansion valve. You'll have more and more people are now using electronic expansion valve, and I think that's something a lot of people would be interested for. So that's definitely a subject we're going to be touching in the near future. So again, go online, download your FG Finder app now, and subscribe for our channel. And we have a last comment. The new RCK602 seems like a game changer in modular refrigeration control. Wonderful. We're going to have that. Thanks, Eddie. Thanks for your suggestion in here. And definitely we're going to bring that up. I think that multi-stage pressure control rack application is something that we have to touch base with. And another thing that we were planning is electronic expansion valve. So if you think electronic expansion valve, it's something you would be interested for, leave a comment in here, and we can organize a live training, a live webinar about that. So again, thank you all for joining our live session today. I hope you're well. I hope you're healthy. And And I hope you're busy too, because I know a lot of people have slowed down and are facing difficulties. So I hope you're all busy and healthy, and hope to see you back again next Wednesday here on Full Gauge channel. Thank you very much, and you all have a blessed day.